Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. The creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. And they'll distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard everywhere on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, and many more. And you can easily make money from your podcast with no minimal listenership. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, welcome back to another episode of Teachable Life Moments with Keeler. I am back and we are resuming part 2 of making bricks without straw. In the first part of today's topic, we talked about making bricks without straw and how the children of Israel were tasked with making bricks without straw. We talked about the importance of straw and how it is one of the main ingredients because otherwise the bricks will break and crumble easily, and that the straw gives the brick stability. Right before we ended with part 1 of this episode, I was talking about how when the children of Israel were told to go therefore now and to work, and that there will be no straw given to them, and yet they will still be required to produce the number of bricks that was required for that day because they had a brick quota. And if any of us are dealing with a situation where we need something and you're already in slavery and then there's somebody that's going to try to make your job or your task even harder, that can be very discouraging. And a lot of times when we hear people telling us what they're going to do and how it's not going to work basically in our favor, we could become very, very discouraged. But I was sharing in part 1 of this episode that we need to flip that when we're hearing words of negative judgment or words or statements that are telling us how it's basically not going to work out in our favor or whatever. Flip that, because really that is a prophetic indication that yes, you can achieve it. Whatever this situation is, it looks impossible. It is possible, but you're going to have to invoke supernatural law, supernatural backup, supernatural forces, and you will be able to do it. You will be able to make these bricks without straw, because with God, all things are possible. So don't get discouraged when you're hearing people threatening, kind of like Jezebel was doing in the Bible. She was just threatening and people was like melting and just, having a meltdown at her words. So we're not going to do that. We're going to basically, those words are telling us what God is about to do for us and how he's about to help us. But just like the children of Israel dealing with slavery, not being liked, they got to make these bricks and Pharaoh don't want to let them go. They in slavery. Have you ever felt, like this, or are you currently being confronted with a situation similar to them, just feeling like you're trapped and in slavery with whatever that bill is or that job or your health, and it just looks like it's not gonna happen. The doctor is giving you a negative report, and basically they're telling you what God can do for you when they're telling you what's not gonna happen. But you've got to know how to step into that supernatural law, that spiritual law. And how do we do that? We do that with using our words. We do that with faith acts. Meditation. We got a vision, see things. In Joshua, he said, meditate on the word day and night. And we know that faith without works is dead. And we know that life and death is in the power of the tongue. We are overcome by our words. And we know that even when God was talking to Abraham, he told him, whatever you see. And we have to see not just seeing with our natural eye, we have to see with our inner eye. And our inner eye is much deeper. Our inner eye is able to step and tap into another realm and see the possibility, to see the supernatural coming in and moving things around that look like they are impossible. We tap into the spiritual law by sowing. And then finally, we do that by having a purified heart, because a lot of times when our heart is not right, that is one of the things that can hold up progress and keep us in slavery and cause us to be held up instead of moving forward and coming out of whatever that bondage is, the bondage of destructive thinking, negative thinking, having pride and fear and resentment and ill will toward people and jealousy. And, we want to come out of the bondage of debt, health issues, and whatever else you are dealing with during this COVID-19 season. And if we can stay focused and remember these things, we will come out of bondage just like the children of Israel did. We can no longer let our doubts and fears keep us in slavery. We cannot. We know that we've got to speak the word. We've got to say the word. I had a quote that I came across that I shared on my Teachable Life Moments page because I found it to be such a thought-provoking quote. And it says, words are bodies or forces which move spirally and return in due season to cross lives of their creators. And so, in other words, the things that we speak are going to come back and meet us. And that's whether you're speaking good words or bad words, words of life, words of deliverance, words of victory, then that's what's going to come back and cross my path and meet me. But if I'm speaking words of negative words, words of defeat, words of lack, words of struggle, words of doubt, words of hopelessness, then that's what's going to come back to meet me. So we've got to watch those words. We've got to remember to take control of that reasoning mind. The reasoning mind is in conflict with the supernatural mind that we need in order to tap into spiritual law. If you have a reasoning mind or you're trying to use intellect, you are going to struggle real badly, or you're not going to have victory, because your reasoning mind and intellect is basically one of those things that keep us in bondage. And we cause ourselves to have a Pharaoh consciousness because we're basically saying, nope, I'm not coming out. Nope, it's not going to let me go. And that's basically what Pharaoh was doing, was saying it can't be done. I'm not going to let the people go. This is impossible. And so you have got to manage the reasoning mind, because the reasoning mind will keep you in bondage and keep you in Egypt and prevent you from getting to the promised land. So we know that tapping into, as I said before, the spiritual law, activating spiritual law, you have got to watch your words. And I know sometimes this is easier said than done, especially when you're in pain and when you have so much negativity, negative reports and negative circumstances and negative evidence in front of you. And you have to fight through that. You may have a bill in front of you, or you may have a doctor's report in front of you, or you may have a career situation in front of you. And I mean, it just looked like it's just hopeless. You have got to activate words. You could say, unexpected doors fly open, unexpected channels are free, and endless avalanches of abundance are poured out upon me. And keep saying it, like the woman with the issue of blood. She just kept repeating it. You know why she had to keep repeating it? Because the negative thought kept trying to overtake her. But she kept repeating it until that thing became alive in her. You have to wrestle with that thing, because you cannot allow yourself to be defeated and left behind in Egypt. When you possess the wherewithal to come out and to build your bricks and to make your bricks without straw, whatever it is that you've been called to do. And we've got to see with our inner eyes. I said, think of the joy. You've got to see yourself with that joy. You've got to see yourself living in security and health and happiness and abundance, and living basically in a life without limitation. And so many times it's so easy to just lean and go along with the thoughts of limitation, the thoughts of defeat, the thoughts of basically agreeing with the circumstances of the carnal realm. And we cannot be fooled and tricked by this carnal realm. It is lying to us. And, at some point, we've been in this game long enough. We've got to realize that we are not living up to the potential of spiritual law and taking advantage of spiritual backup and assistance. And it's time for us to elevate and graduate to a PhD level in utilizing and operating and flowing in spiritual law. Now, it's no doubt that most people, if you're in any type of bondage or feeling like you're stuck, you are looking forward to being free from whatever your Egypt situation is. It could be lack or just oppression. You want to be free from just the negative thinking, because you know what? Your negative thinking is what's holding you back from that better job, because you don't see it. You want it, but you don't really see it. You don't really feel it, in your soul that you already have it, like the Bible tells us to believe. And as a result, you keep getting what you do see. You keep getting what you keep preparing for. It's like you saying you want one thing, but then you prepare for the opposite. We've got to watch our behaviors because we are creatures of habit. And if we don't pay attention to what we're doing and saying, we will still be in Egypt when we don't have to be. It's time for us to be delivered out of slavery, delivered from Egypt, delivered from being a slave of doubt, delivered from being a slave of being afraid all the time, being delivered from just being apprehensive about stepping out and making a move and letting God use us at the capacity that He wants to use us, because we're worried about what other people think. Because that could be a slavery, just worrying about what people think, and it'll keep you in bondage because you won't operate at your peak performance of the way that God has wired you and gifted you talent-wise. And so we've got to come out. Let us be delivered. Get that mind right. We've got to control the thought. Thought can be a great oppressor. Negative thought, wrong thoughts can be a great oppressor. And this week, I want you to monitor seriously your thought process, your thought life, because your thoughts produce your reality. And we can all tell what everybody is thinking by what you have produced in your reality. We can tell what you are thinking by whatever struggle. Now, I know there's always an exception, but for the most part, our thoughts is what produce what's in the reality. And a negative thought, a defeated thought is a great oppressor. Your mind, some people's minds are their greatest oppressor. The mind, that's why we have to take control of the mind, renew the mind. We get renewed and transformed through the mind. In delving deeper about the mind, to give you a visual picture of just how terrible it could be to have the wrong thought process, because you could just be saying, oh, I'm a believer and I've been in this thing for 20 something years, but your thought process needs deliverance. You don't backslid in the mind, type of situation. And it's just, oh my goodness, it's like, really? We need to put that mind on the altar. So let me give you a visual demonstration of how we need to get control of the great oppressor, which is having a terrible, negative, demonic thought life. So in logging camps, usually in the spring, they send like logs down the river, and they send like a bunch of them down the river. And in the process of sending all these logs down the river, as you can imagine, some of them are going to get crossed up. And when those logs get crossed up, it can cause a jam. And when it causes a jam, everything comes to a standstill. Nothing's really happening. And as a result, the worker can't get done until they find out which one of those logs is causing the jam. So the loggers have to go out there and find out which one of the logs is causing the jam. And when they find the one that's causing the jam, they call that log the kingpin. And then once they find the kingpin, they straighten it, and then the rest of the logs begin to flow back down the river again. So my question to you, what is your kingpin? What is that thing in your life that's holding up and jamming up your logs and preventing you from coming out of slavery, preventing you from coming out of Egypt, preventing you from being able to tap into spiritual law, and preventing you from basically dominating your reality by using spiritual law? What is your kingpin? Because you need to identify it so you can go and straighten it out, because it's causing a jam. It's preventing progress. It's preventing you from moving forward. It's preventing you from living the abundant life here on earth instead of waiting until you get to heaven to really experience abundance on earth. What is your kingpin? Could it be resentment that's holding you back? Because a lot of times we can have resentment, we can have jealousy, we can have some hateration going on, we can have some envy going on, or that thing where we put people down, criticizing people, belittling people, or we have basically jealous in our heart, or we joking, making a sarcastic remark about people, and try to make it seem like we're playing and joking, but really you telling the truth about how you really feel. Or we're being hateful to people, or self-righteous to people, or judgmental about people. Do you know that stuff will hold you up and create a jam and keep you in bondage? And then 10 years pass and you are still in the same place dealing with the same problem, talking about the same thing. What is your kingpin? Because you must identify, because it's going to prevent you from really having that success that's awaiting you, living in happiness, and it's preventing you from experiencing abundance. And if we don't figure that out, we're going to stay in Egypt. We're going to be out here in Egypt still trying to go and get our straw and trying to make these bricks and trying to meet this brick quota when God has a better way. He's going to anoint us, send supernatural enforcements to show us how to get the job done with our limited resources, with limited support. Okay? That's how we're going to survive and thrive and overcome and come out with a victory in COVID-19. We are switching it up. We're tapping into another realm. And maybe that's part of some of the benefit of COVID-19 is provoking us to a higher level. It's provoking us to have to tap into the basically the unknown or the spiritual realm, because the resources right now are so limited everywhere to do certain things. And so it's provoking us. We don't have a choice. We've got to tap into a whole nother something, because otherwise we're going to stay up in Egypt. And I don't know about you, it's time to come out. Many of us thought we were out of Egypt until COVID came, and we realized, well, we had all kind of bondages that we're dealing with, or that was lying dormant, and we didn't know that they were there. But we've got to find the kingpin, and then we will see God show us how to make bricks without straw. And we will see that we didn't have to have what we thought we had to have, that there was a whole nother resource and supply that we did not know of. So go ye therefore now and work, for there shall no straw be given you. Yet, you know what? You're going to make those bricks without straw. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, you're going to come out all right. But you know why? Because you're going to utilize the principles that I just shared with you. You're going to tap into spiritual law and operate from a whole nother plane and dimension. All right. That's my time. This is Keeler Bryson, and you have been listening to the Teachable Life Moments podcast with Keeler. I hope something that was said in either episode 1 or episode 2 of today's topic was helpful or beneficial to you. If it was, then I'm asking you to comment, like, share, and tell others about the podcast and share your feedback with us and let us know how this episode has been a blessing to you. All right, that's my time. And until the next episode, stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, and continue to social distance yourself. All right, you all have a wonderful week.